September 11th, 2001 began like any other Tuesday. The sky was clear, the air was crisp, and millions of people started their day immersed in routines, commutes, school drop-offs, and coffee breaks. It was a day that felt ordinary in every sense, defined by the predictable rhythms of daily life. But by mid-morning, everything changed. Do you remember where you were when the world seemed to stop? For many, that moment is etched into memory, a defining point in history. The attacks on September 11th didn't just take lives, they shattered a collective sense of safety, forcing people to confront the fragility of the modern world and the unpredictability of global threats. In a single morning, the world's sense of stability was overturned, and questions about safety, freedom, and resilience began dominating global conversations. But what made this so significant wasn't just the immediate loss. It was the ripple effects that transformed the world in ways we are still grappling with today. How did that single day change how we live, think, and connect? Before that day, national security concerns felt distant for most, with threats largely confined to international news reports. Life was rooted in personal routines, work, family, community gatherings, anchored by a quiet confidence in the safety of the everyday. The idea of large-scale violence disrupting normal life seemed confined to distant conflicts. In the Western world, people felt insulated from the kind of chaos that the attack has unleashed. But within hours, that illusion of stability vanished. The hijacking of 4 planes and the deliberate targeting of iconic landmarks, the Twin Towers, the Pentagon, and a quiet field in Pennsylvania revealed the fragility of even the most powerful nations. It wasn't just the scale of destruction that shocked the world, it was the realization that no one was entirely immune to global threats. This awakening wasn't confined to fear alone. It spurred a collective reevaluation of priorities, reshaping how individuals, communities, and governments viewed safety, resilience, and interdependence. The economic fallout was immediate and far-reaching. Stock markets plunged, with the Dow Jones Industrial Average dropping nearly 700 points in the first week after reopening. Think about how often we take stability for granted. 9/11 shook not just our sense of security, but also the foundations of the global economy. Industries tied to travel and hospitality, airlines, hotels, and tourism experienced devastating losses. It took years for these sectors to recover, with many businesses closing permanently. Yet the lessons learned in economic resilience continue to resonate through other, more recent global crises. This shift not only changed industries, but also altered how governments and corporations approach risk. Defense budgets around the world surged, with governments reallocating resources to prioritize counterterrorism and cybersecurity. These changes weren't limited to the public sector. Private industries, from insurance to infrastructure, adapted to a new landscape where the risk of terrorism became a constant consideration. In countries like Germany and France, counterterrorism budgets also expanded significantly, signaling a shared commitment to addressing global threats. These international collaborations underscore how it reshaped not just the American economy, but also the way nations worldwide approached economic resilience and security. Today, the legacy of these measures is visible in the way governments and corporations prioritize digital defense as part of national security. The economic repercussions of 9/11 reshaped industries and altered global spending priorities, but the attack's influence extended far beyond markets and budgets. As financial markets stabilized, cultural creators turned to storytelling to process the emotional weight of the tragedy, offering reflections that would shape collective memory. Artists, writers, and filmmakers sought to explore the emotional and societal impacts of that day, offering reflections that shaped how the world remembers it. By the way, if you're finding this perspective insightful, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. These discussions are only meaningful when shared, so let's explore these narratives together. In the years following, cultural narratives began reflecting the profound emotional and societal changes brought about by the attacks. Films like United 93 and World Trade Center offered intimate portrayals of the events, while blockbusters like The Dark Knight explored themes of fear, chaos, and resilience. These works didn't just entertain, they prompted audiences to confront the complexities of security and morality in a changing world. Art and storytelling became tools for processing collective grief and confusion. Writers like Don DeLillo and his Falling Man and Jonathan Safran Foer's Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close explored the emotional and psychological aftermath, delving into themes of identity, loss, and recovery. Visual artists also contributed, creating memorial exhibitions and installations that fostered community reflection. These works became spaces for dialogue, where audiences could grapple with their emotions and draw connections between the past and their present. National Memorial in New York doesn't serve only for mourning, but also as a reminder of how collective memory can inspire unity. Globally, 9/11 influenced cultural narratives beyond the United States. European artists and writers grappled with questions of identity and security, while creators in the Middle East worked to challenge stereotypes and humanize their communities in the face of rising Islamophobia. These diverse perspectives remind us that the impact transcended borders, shaping how the societies worldwide were processing these new challenges. This cultural response not only documented the emotions of the time, but also shaped how societies remember it. These narratives continue to inform public memory, serving as reminders of resilience and the enduring human capacity to create meaning from tragedy. While art fostered unity and understanding, the broader public discourse began fracturing. The political and social unity seen immediately after the attacks was replaced by polarized debates over surveillance, foreign policy, and civil liberties. The very policies designed to protect often sowed division, particularly as questions about their ethical implications and long-term effectiveness grew louder. Have you ever wondered how we went from post-9/11 unity to such deep divisions today? The seeds were sown in the very responses that followed the tragedy. Media played a central role in this shift. The 24-hour news cycle, which dominated coverage in the days after, became the standard for reporting global events. Social media platforms, which were still emerging in 2001, have since become dominant forces in shaping public opinion. Their rise amplified polarization as algorithms began promoting divisive content, creating echo chambers that reinforced existing biases. Alongside the rise of social media, government surveillance programs introduced in response to 9/11, such as the Patriot Act, sparked fierce debates about privacy and civil liberties. These measures, while initially accepted as necessary for national security, raised concerns about the erosion of individual rights. The discussion continues today as new technologies, including facial recognition and AI-driven data collection, expand surveillance capabilities. How much privacy should individuals sacrifice for the promise of safety? While this immediacy allowed for rapid information dissemination, it also contributed to sensationalism and fear-mongering. As the war on terror unfolded, the media landscape became increasingly fragmented, with news outlets catering to partisan audiences. This shift widened ideological divides, making it harder to foster constructive dialogue. This polarization, rooted in the post-9/11 era, continues to shape political and cultural debates, highlighting the challenges of navigating a world where shared understanding feels increasingly elusive. The psychological toll cannot be overstated. For survivors, first responders, and witnesses, the trauma remains vivid. Many continue to experience long-term effects such as post-traumatic stress disorder, a testament to the profound emotional scars left by that day. For the broader population, the attacks instilled a pervasive sense of vulnerability. Schools, workplaces, and public spaces have adapted, implementing emergency drills and designing infrastructure with security in mind. These measures, while necessary, reflect a world shaped by the fear of the unexpected. This psychological shift underscores the far-reaching impact of it, influencing not only how we prepare for crises, but how we perceive and navigate risk in our daily lives. Disruptions of that day's usual peace still echoes today. As we navigate modern uncertainties, memory challenges us to value the routines we often take for granted while preparing for the unpredictable. Balancing security with personal freedoms, fostering unity in times of division, and finding strength in the face of uncertainty are challenges that define our era. It was a day of unimaginable loss, but it was also a day that revealed the capacity of the human spirit. In the face of tragedy, we saw acts of courage, compassion, and unity that continue to inspire us. 2 decades later, the legacy of 9/11 challenges us to rise above fear and division, to protect the freedoms that define us, and to build a future rooted in hope and shared humanity. Thank you for watching and taking the time to reflect on this important moment in history. If this resonated with you, consider liking, sharing, or subscribing. It helps keep these conversations alive. Take care, and we'll see you in the next one.